Well, first of all, Eric and Candy, thank you so much for speaking with FandomWire about the movie. I'm a huge Looney Tunes fan. I imagine you guys are as well. So that's kind of where I want to start. What was your relationship like with the Looney Tunes before you both were able to perform as them?
I was mostly a fan. I
Mhm.
was my very first audition and my very first job was on Tiny Toons, and
Hmm.
I brought my sensibility from having watched those every Saturday morning as a kid since I could remember. And I'm a fan of it, and I'm a fan of the comedy and the timing and the rhythm and the movement, the action, the animation direction, the fastness. And I think that's what it was, is just that I wanted to bring me to these properties that I love.
Yeah.
For me, it was a real on again, off again, will they, won't they, Ross and Rachel kind of thing. But we eventually found a common ground, and we've stayed together ever since. No, no, no. Saturday mornings, after school.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings was the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, and then
Hmm.
after school was Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series, and Freakazoid. So
I
it was
mean,
all Warner
killer
Brothers.
lineup.
Yeah, it was the '90s renaissance of Warner Brothers, I'd like to say.
Mhm.
And yeah, Mel Blanc, knowing that this one person um, was performing these characters is remarkable. I and you could really feel the power in his performance.
Hmm.
When he does Yosemite Sam, I like to call that like the equivalent of human bagpipes. He's like bursting air out of every orifice of his body. Ooh, I hate that rabbit. Like I can't even imagine doing that voice for more than 2 seconds. And he did it like without blinking an eye. But that's just who he was, and I'm thankful because here we are 90 years later, still celebrating his work.
Well, and so Eric, I was going to ask you, what is it like for you to then come into a project like The Day the Earth Blew Up and then kind of see that lore change a little bit where Porky and Daffy are not only close, but actually brothers? Kind of tell me about the process of how you were able to create that bond vocally over the course of the movie.
Well, yeah, and I think it just deepens and raises the stakes in a sense that we've seen them in different ways. We've seen them as cops. We've seen them as uh, saloon owners that compete against each other. We've seen Porky as a guest in a hotel that Daffy happens to be the bellboy in. And this again, it's 90 minutes, and you're going to build on that relationship. Yeah, why not make them brothers? Kind of like orphans in a sense. They have each other, and it kind of that's literally the whole thing in the movie. We'll be okay as long as we stick together, and
Mhm.
it means a lot towards the end. And as a performer, it's great. It's a tool to use, and again, you'll be surprised, I think, as a viewer that the talking pig and a talking duck will evoke as many different emotions out of you: laughs, thrills, tears of joy, and it's an honor, really. It is getting to be in something this big.
And Candy, you get the opportunity to kind of bring out one of the more underseen characters in the Looney
Yeah.
Tunes lore. Petunia Pig has existed since the 30s, but
Mhm.
hasn't really had this big of a role. What was it like for you to be able to, take ownership of a character that has been voiced by many people, I believe Eric included, in the past?
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
I think it was a wonderful opportunity because I enjoy working with Pete and his
Hmm.
crew. Um, I love the way she was written, and that I got carte blanche to bring her to life the way I wanted to. But I'm going to say that I watched a short where she was like a saloon singer, and I have done
Hmm.
this so many times. I want to come on, I love a baby, yaddy, yaddy. And she had like little shoes on, and she had a Betty Boop. And when I auditioned, or when I sent back my version to the guys, I had done that voice, and then I had done a take two, which was closer to my voice, and I
Hmm.
was given permission. And then the president of the company, Sam Register, came back to Pete Browngardt and said, "We want the writing will not let a 30s, and I don't know how your movie going is, but she used to be like a Judy Holliday. Oh, it's not on my time. It was more like that." And that's the first kind of take I did was, "Oh, Porky." And then we got into this, which is my voice, just youthed up a little bit. And I just feel like I had free reign. But this movie is well written. I had
Hmm.
great lines, and my philosophy is that the script already has the job. You don't need to change the script. You need to adapt yourself into the script. And I thought that I had done that, but I also know as an actor, she's got to be strong enough to keep the buddies together, but she is not a buddy. She is not a third wheel. She has her vision of what she needs to do, and these two are the star. These two characters are the stars, and it's a hard, thankless role to be Ethel Mertz, basically, in this. She's not a guest star. She's on this journey with Lucy, the
Mhm.
two Lucys right here, but she's Ethel, and that's what I think I tried to play. And I don't like this term, but she was the second banana. She was the second little
Hmm.
Porky. So that was it. And I just loved doing it. And I think that I worked with June Foray quite a bit, and she, like Mel Blanc, was on Tiny Toons when I was on Tiny Toons. And I honor her because she worked really hard to make it okay for women to be in animation. Um, but I can't do an impression of her. That's not what I do. And Eric was so much more restricted because, as we know, everybody on social media is looking to pick it apart
Mhm.
and say he doesn't deserve it. And so for me, I get to reinvent characters that have never been seen before. And I was really lucky to have a great script. Really, truly.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about that process, both with the screenplay and having to take on these characters that people have relationships with an interpretation of. Um, at what point are you guys able to put your own spin on the character, or how restricted are you by the process of knowing people already feel a certain way about these characters?
I think Eric will speak to that. He has a different take. I am very sensitive to writers in that that's what I love to do. And I am a writer, and I love to do that. And I'm very, very sensitive to somebody got a paycheck for putting that on. And but I have worked with actors who are new to the craft, and they come up halfway through the half-hour episode that we would do with a new voice, and they start trying it out, and then they just think that they can go back and record their lines again, and you've got a voice director pulling their hair out saying, "We hired you for this." So part of what I do is we set it up before we get going. What's
Hmm.
her timbre? Where is she doing? How do you like this? And then I am directed as we go along by Pete saying, "No, no, no, we need to set up into Porky and Daffy, like saying mother, like the gag is going to be this. Oh, 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 oh," because we lay the voices down first. So it's not to picture. So I'm like, "Oh, oh, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen." And then we redo it. But this guy has a whole new set of rules. I mean, a whole different set of rules than I do, but that's my process. Is I don't change once we decide that that's the voice, and hopefully I can remember what I do. So go ahead.
Oh, for me, it's definitely staying within the goalposts that Mel left behind because
Mhm.
you want to at least make sure that it sounds like the character, but then you have the challenge of acting in scenes that no one's ever done before,
Mhm.
while still convincing and assuring the audience that this is Daffy and this is Porky. Um, but yeah, luckily Pete's there directing the voice sessions alongside Alex. We
Yes.
also have very well drawn and well made storyboards that
Mhm.
help you visually guide the performance. And yeah, uh, just make sure you have some lots of water.
And some lozenges.
Lozenge.
Some Ricola. They did not sponsor this interview.
That's very funny. Especially I'm as somebody who's coming off a cold, I definitely want some of that.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful soup. Oh,
well,
glad that will Postmates you. Also not a sponsor.
so I guess my last question for you guys is, what do you hope people take the most away from, the day the Earth blew up? Because it's such an incredibly fun return for me to the Looney Tunes. What did it mean for you guys, and what do you hope people take from it?
I hope people take away bubble gum and butt cracks. You're welcome.
And that's all. No,
And I'm drinking a boba.
that's the end, literally. Butt cracks. No, 2D animation is still alive and well, and it looks never been better. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
same as the Looney Tunes. It's tough. It's tough to you know, kind of remind people or kind of just keep bringing them back and almost having to do so in a way that you don't want it to be like a reimagining or a retelling every time because then you're just kind of making the same story over and over again. This is like its own thing, and I think I'm glad it's not like an origin story again. We've all seen it, or they're abandoned characters, and now we need Tom Brady to come save them this time.
Mhm.
They're kind of just Porky and Daffy, and now they're on their own. Literally, not even any of the other characters really show up. No
Yeah.
Bugs, no Tweety, no Sylvester. It's just
No granny, nobody.
nobody,
Nobody.
just them and Petunia, just the three of them.
Yeah.
And then we get new characters like Farmer Jim, and then the Invader. We're
Oh my
talking about
gosh.
Peter McNichol earlier.
Oh my gosh, he was so great.
Yeah,
So funny. It didn't dawn on me that it was Peter McNichol at first, and then I heard one line, and I was like, "Oh
yeah.
my God, it's definitely him!"
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, someone in the celebrity world that is just a good character actor and has a very unique sound to himself. And anytime he decides to push it in whatever direction, uh, in any role that he's done, it's always funny. So, I mean, they made an excellent choice there, if you ask me.
Yeah, that and Wayne Knight as the mayor. Just
yeah.
Neumann.
I just wanted him to say hello, Daffy, just once.
Yes.
Well, hey, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I love the Looney Tunes. Everybody loves the Looney Tunes. People need to see this movie. So
Oh,
thank you so much for your time. Really.